Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, back here once again with some more Ottoman history. The Ottoman Civil War, which I should have done yesterday. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I actually skipped it. Actually, I had this one actually ready apparently, and but I didn't. I forgot that I did, and I just ended up going ahead to the next video, not realizing I already went ahead to the next video. If you know what I'm saying, but anyways, yeah, we got the Battle of Varna, 1444. I guess this will make more sense now. I mean, I thought it was kind of odd that we had because the two kings, the two big leaders died, and now there's civil war going amongst basically amongst themselves on was it Timur on their side, and then the Ottoman side, and then jumped to the then I ended up jumping to Constantinople and all that, and we know what happened there. I kind of feel bad, I guess, the people catching this later on the playlist as well, because they're going to be saying the same thing, like, why did he do this one first? What happened to the Civil War? So I apologize about that, guys. I just, I guess I should have checked the playlist, and been more aware of what I was doing. So I'm sorry. But anyways, yeah, I want, and usually I don't do like when I'm doing a series, I go back and I've been going back and forth between like I'll do like a random video, then I'll go back to this series, and I'll do a random video and back to this series. That's kind of usually what I've been doing. But since I skipped ahead, I kind of wanted to go ahead and get this kind of one done and get caught up while stuff is a little still more fresh in my head, even though it'd only be another day. But anyways, enough excuses. We're gonna jump into this. Please hit that like and subscribe button, please. And yeah. Let's get to it. Oh, well, I hope this is. Watch this. Imagine if I was doing something that wasn't the Ottoman Civil War. I just hit a random button and it was a different Civil War. Man, there'd be chaos in the comments. Because you guys definitely let me know if I mess up, man. Like, I was like, oh crap. I had like 5 comments right out the bat. But anyways, guys, I really appreciate it though. And like, because if you guys didn't say nothing, I wouldn't have even thought about it. So I really do appreciate that. And but anyways, guys, like, subscribe, and let's jump into it. The Civil War. All right.
In our previous video in our series on the Ottomans, we covered the Battle of Ankara between Bayezid and Timur.
Right.
As the speed of the Ottoman conquest ramped up, the resistance against them grew stronger. At the same time, internal strife would continue to alter the history of this empire. Welcome to a video covering the results of both of these pressures as we explain the Ottoman interregnum and the Crusade of Varna.
Okay.
The Ottoman Empire was dealt its first decisive blow at the Battle of Ankara of 1402. The new conqueror, Timur, defeated the Sultan Bayezid I and took him prisoner. The Sultan's oldest son, Suleiman, managed to escape to Europe using ships from Venice and Genoa. Timur chased Suleiman to the coast, but he didn't have a navy, so an attack on the Ottoman territory in Europe wasn't possible. Instead, to punish the Christians for ferrying Suleiman, he captured the stronghold of Smyrna and executed its Hospitaller garrison. Timur then restored the Turkic beyliks in southern and eastern Anatolia, but his enemies in Iraq took Baghdad, so he had to leave the region. This was the start of the Ottoman interregnum period, as sons of Bayezid attempted to consolidate their power. Suleiman was able to take control of the European holdings, but his forces were still weak, and the fact that one of Bayezid's strongest vassals, Stefan Lazarevich, gained independence after the Battle of Tripoli didn't help. In early 1403, Suleiman decided that he needed to negotiate with the neighbouring Christian realms. The Treaty of Gallipoli confirmed the peace between Suleiman and the Hospitallers, Venice, Genoa, and the Byzantine Empire. The Greeks stopped paying tribute and received a number of coastal areas in the Balkans. Suleiman also promised to help Byzantium in the event of Timur attacking it. This treaty was full of other concessions by the Ottoman prince, but it gave him a chance to bring Anatolia under his authority. Meanwhile, Bayezid passed away in captivity. His other son, Musa, was allowed to return to Anatolia. Musa took control of Bursa and nearby lands as a vassal of Timur. Another Ottoman prince, Mehmet, was granted Amasya as his domain by Timur. One more son of Bayezid, Isa, joined the struggle and attacked Musa. Despite early setbacks, Isa managed to defeat his brother in 1403. Musa found refuge in the court of Mehmet.
You think like these guys were kind of released like purposely for this, because they didn't want, Suleiman to kind of get things together and rally the troops and have the Ottomans, become a big power again, the fact that, these other brothers, I guess, were let go or whatnot, basically like provoked, this civil war, because if they just kept them to the side and just had Suleiman the whole time, I mean, you had one ruler and they could have consolidated all the power and be a force to be reckoned with a lot sooner. But the fact that they're going through a civil war, the Ottoman Empire, it makes them weak, because there's the fighting inside. And think like Timur, the areas over there, they're probably thinking that, like, as long as they're fighting each other, they're not fighting us. And that's a good thing. So that, I don't know, that's kind of what went through my head. I could have missed something there and could be completely wrong. I'm sure you guys would let me know. But anyways, that just kind of the first thoughts that went through my head.
His brother in 1403. Musa found refuge in the court of Mehmet, who moved against Isa in the same year, beat him at the Battle of Ulubad, and took Bursa. In 1404, Suleiman finally launched his invasion of Anatolia, and initially it was successful. He conquered Bursa, then Ankara, but he failed to take Amasya. And in 1409, Mehmet sent Musa with a strong army to attack Suleiman's European domains. He was forced to return to the Balkans. In 1410, Suleiman defeated Musa at the Battle of Kosmedon. Although it seems that the troops were not happy with Suleiman, and in 1411 they defected to Musa, who killed his brother and became the ruler of the region. At this point, Musa rebelled against Mehmet, and in 1412 besieged Constantinople, as Emperor Manuel II was an ally of Suleiman. The emperor asked for Mehmet's assistance, and the Ottoman prince crossed into Europe and aided in the defense of the city against his brother. Finally, Musa was repelled, and in 1413, Mehmed, supported by Stefan Lazarevich and Manuel II, won the Battle of Kamurlu in modern-day Bulgaria. Musa was executed, and the Ottoman civil war came to an end.
Wow. Okay.
Mehmed I became the Sultan, and in the next decade reconquered some lost territories in Anatolia and took parts of Albania. His son Murad II's reign began in 1421 with rebellion. One more son of Bayezid.
So you release this down to like you're under one leader. There's not all this internal struggle that took years to kind of take care of. But apparently, all is never like all, roses and flowers. Back in these times, there's always some kind of person uprising against you. But anyways,
began in 1421 with rebellion. One more son of Bayezid, Mustafa, appeared, and as he was supported by the Byzantines, he was able to take control of the European holdings and declare himself Sultan. However, Mustafa's attack on Anatolia failed, and in the same year he was executed. Murad proceeded to siege Constantinople, but another rebellion, this time led by his younger brother Mustafa and supported by the Turkic Beyliks, forced him to move back to Asia Minor.
So, like, obviously, I already done, the whole, like, siege on Constantinople yesterday. But this kind of, like, just proves why they, in that siege, why they, obviously that takes place after this, but why they kind of took care of, and made peace with all these other kind of countries around them, so no one would be bugging them while they're doing the siege for this exact reason. They don't want to get started and have an enemy from outside stop their progress and them have to go, go deal with that before they can go back to the, the siege or whatever. So yeah, it definitely makes sense. Obviously, I would have known that if I did this one first, but anyways, I'm confusing myself now.
Supported by the Turkic Beyliks, forced him to move back to Asia Minor. The Sultan defeated the uprising and annexed some of the Beyliks. In 1424, Murad forced the Byzantines to return the territories ceded to them according to the Treaty of Gallipoli and start paying tribute once again. The Sultan then forced the Albanian lord John Castriot to accept his suzerainty. A number of raids were conducted into modern-day Croatia and Romania, and he also took even more lands in Anatolia. With the death of the despot of Serbia, Stefan Lazarevic, in 1427, the Ottomans and Hungary started fighting over his territory. Parts of Serbia were devastated, but eventually it was established as a buffer region between the two states, with Đurađ Branković at its helm. The plague of 1428 to 1429 halted Ottoman movement, but in 1430 the conquest was restarted. Strategically crucial Thessalonica and Ioannina were occupied. As the King of Hungary, Sigismund, passed away in 1437 without leaving an heir, the Ottoman attacks intensified, and by the end of 1439, Murad took Smederevo and Serbia became part of his domain.
Oh wow.
After a period of uncertainty, the King of Poland, Vladislaus III, was crowned the King of Hungary. The Ottoman invasions were worrisome for the leaders of Europe. An alliance began forming around Vladislaus, and he was supported by the Church. Vladislaus and his commander John Hunyadi managed to win a few battles against the Ottomans in 1441 and 1442. At the beginning of 1443, Pope Eugene IV called for a crusade, and Vladislaus was joined by Đurađ Branković, Prince of Wallachia Mircea II, and Prince of Bulgaria Frusin. They had around 40,000 troops, and together moved against Niš. The fortress was besieged and then conquered, and 3 Ottoman armies that arrived in the area were defeated.
Wow.
One significant result of these battles around Niš was that Albanian lord George Castriot, who would later be known as Skanderbeg, deserted the Ottomans. He would resist the Ottomans for the next 3 decades.
Damn.
Despite their defeats at Niš, the Ottomans still had an army nearby, this time under the direct command of the Sultan Murad. The Crusaders approached his position near Zlatissa but were defeated. Fortunately for the Crusaders, in the beginning of 1444 at Konovica, they were able to win a battle against a smaller Ottoman army that was chasing them. Both sides were exhausted, and although the papal emissaries were against it, a tentative peace was signed. Serbia was to be restored as a buffer state.
I don't know, you're a crusader, you know, get the crusades going again, and then you decide to sign off on peace. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it's either you're going to make the crusade or not. I don't know. It didn't seem very successful. If you got to make peace for your crusade, you know, then anyway, the crusades was all about money anyway, right? A lot of them were anyway. But anyways, that just tells me it's a win for the Ottomans because they got rid of the Crusaders.
Peace was signed. Serbia was to be restored as a buffer state. The Ottomans were to pay war indemnity, and Hungary promised not to cross the Danube.
Fair.
The Ottomans used this peace to pacify Anatolia once again, and Murad felt that his borders were now secured. He abdicated the throne to his son Mehmet. Back in Europe, local Ottoman lords attempted to mount a punitive attack against Skanderbeg in the June of 1444, but the latter outmaneuvered them at the Battle of Torviol, and the Ottomans lost at least 10,000 troops.
Wow.
It is not clear if it was due to this defeat, or the influence of the Pope, or the abdication of Murad, but Vladislaus broke the peace and restarted his crusade in the autumn of 1444. Sultan Mehmed was just 12 at the time. We don't know if he was influenced by his advisors or thought of this himself, but he demanded that his father return to the throne.
So he took over at 12 years old to be the Sultan, to take over the armies. Now, I don't know why his dad would. I guess there were different times back then. Maybe kids were like, you know, they were brought up and to take over more, but sure. But like, you look at a 12-year-old right now, and I just think it'd be kind of hard to get the respect from your people or your soldiers being a 12-year-old, like you're a big seasoned soldier and a 12-year-old's telling you what to do. It just doesn't, doesn't make sense to me. So I'm sure, I guess Murad, he had obviously had his reasons, to let his son take over. Maybe there's some other things going on, but yeah, I think he definitely kind of has to take the reins until his son gets a little older, because I definitely think the outside powers probably look down upon that, as far as they're vulnerable. They have a 12-year-old leader. I don't know. Surprising.
Or thought of this himself, but he demanded that his father return to the throne. The letter from Mehmed to Murad reads, "If you are the Sultan, come and lead the armies. If I am the Sultan, I order you to come and lead the armies." The crusading army was moving towards the Black Sea.
I mean, he's got a point. If he's the Sultan, he can order him to come lead the armies. But if his dad's the Sultan, he can say, well, you come lead the armies if you're the Sultan. I guess, that's kind of funny. A little bickering amongst, father and son.
The crusading army was moving towards the Black Sea this time around, as support from the Venetian and Genoan navies was expected. Nicopolis was taken, and by November 8th the Crusaders were near Varna. Murad indeed took command of the Ottoman army and approached Varna from the west the next day. The Crusaders were now blocked and had to fight. The battle took place on November 10th, 1444.
Woohoo!
The numbers of combatants are still debated, as the Western and Ottoman sources present entirely different estimates.
Of course.
Modern historians conclude that both armies had at least 20 to 25,000 troops.
Sorry.
The Crusaders deployed their army between the Franga Hill and Lake Varna, with Polish and Hungarian forces in the centre, Wallachians in reserve, German mercenaries and Bosnians on the right, and Transylvanians, Bulgarians and Czechs on the left. Meanwhile, the Ottoman centre, which consisted of Janissaries and Azeps, mounted 2 burial mounds and set up barricades to their front. The right wing was manned by Sipahi cavalry from Europe. The left was made of Sipahis from Anatolia, and Akinjis were positioned on the extreme left. The battle started with an attack from the Ottoman left, but it was repulsed, and the Crusader right chased the enemy. However, it was an ambush, and the Akinjis managed to attack the Crusaders from the flank. The Crusader right retreated in disarray. The Ottomans...
I always kind of find it curious, because, obviously when they charged to push them all the way back here, man, they're way outnumbered. You think, I guess they're kind of hidden. I don't know. I guess I'm sorry. I guess that had to be it. I don't know the terrain. And obviously, when you look down here, it just looks like an open field. But I'm sure it wasn't it. How do you not see these guys? About to flank you. But obviously, they could be behind a hill or behind trees or something. I don't know. So never mind.
The Crusader right retreated in disarray. The Ottomans attempted to crush the left flank of the enemy, but they were stopped, and Hunyadi went on to counterattack here. He succeeded, and the right side of the Sultan's army also retreated. At this point in the battle, King Vladislaus moved his centre forward with hopes of killing or capturing Murad. The details are not clear, but it seems that initially, Polish and Hungarian knights successfully drove the Azeps away. They were met by the Janissaries next, and that clash decided the outcome of the battle when Vladislaus was killed by one of Murad's guards. Hunyadi also attacked the Ottoman centre to retrieve the corpse of his king, but these efforts failed. The Ottoman right and left encircled the Crusaders, and Hunyadi had to retreat. Almost the entire Crusader army was lost. The Ottomans had won against another crusade, and the road to Constantinople was now open. Thanks for watching our documentary on the Ottoman interregnum.
I kind of figured the Ottomans would win that just because, Constantinople was supposed to be next, and I know that the Ottomans, had a siege of Constantinople, and if they were to lose this battle right here, then it wouldn't make any sense for them to siege Constantinople. So Obviously, I kind of figured that the Ottomans would win there, and I don't know. The Crusaders, man, I've done a lot of Crusader videos, and I don't know, man. The Crusades never end well. They always fail. So it does not surprise me at all just for that factor, The Crusaders are just, I don't know. The Crusaders to me just seem like a bunch of militia they just get together. Hey, let's go fight for, let's go fight for our god. Like there doesn't seem to be much organization. They just all kind of militia getting together and let's go to this place and fight these bad guys. And I don't know, like, and they're always fighting amongst themselves. So the Crusaders, obviously they might have some great warriors and great armor and all that stuff. Not unlike actual militia, but the organization's just not there, and it doesn't seem like the whole morale of the. I think just the Crusaders just seem like everyone that's going to do the Crusades all has their own kind of motivations for doing it, and 99% of them are not because of God, kind of thing. If you guys know what I'm saying. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. Because the Crusades, it never ends well. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think. It was definitely interesting. I like the first part was pretty much getting all the pieces together, doing the Civil War, all that good stuff. A lot of power switched hands and basically built it up till we got to the Crusades right here. And yeah, definitely was not disappointed. I mean, I was like the battle. I guess I wasn't expecting it. It wasn't exactly the biggest glamorous battle, I guess I kind of expected what the outcome was, but I guess the tactics used, I guess there wasn't much to it. It seemed like, but I definitely liked like the build up of right after the whole Civil War, and then what happened after that with like the whole like basically the chess back and forth with the other powers around him with deals done in the Crusades, and then the back and forth there. I thought it was pretty cool. Anyways, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button below and all that fun stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully you guys don't roast me too bad. You guys are actually pretty awesome at that. You guys are pretty cool with me, so thank you. And I'll catch you guys in future videos. You guys have a great night. Peace. Woohoo!